Welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to another episode of Spider-Man PS4 101. So I was planning to cover all this news as it happened, but as you all know, I was busy attending Comic-Con this year and I was having an absolute blast. But now that I'm back home and fully rested from that awesome event, I think now it's about time that I fully break down and go over every piece of news that happened from Comic-Con relating to Spider-Man PS4. And in this video, I'm mainly going to be covering the second Daily Bugle issue that was posted on PlayStation's website, the brand new story trailer from Comic-Con itself, and the opening cutscene that was shown off during Hall H at the Marvel Games panel. Now, in case you missed it, PlayStation.com posted the second issue of the Marvel Spider-Man Daily Bugle newspaper. And while there are new bits and pieces relating to the story discussing about Rhino's involvement fighting Spider-Man in New York along with Aunt May working at the Fee Shelter, I'm mainly going to go over one part of the newspaper that is really interesting. And even though all the other headlines in this second issue of the Daily Bugle newspaper are very eye-popping, nothing can compare to the Grave Encounters headline. And of course, this article is mainly discussing a new street drug, Grave Dust Creates Monsters, by Betty Brant herself. Health officials are warning citizens to avoid a violent, new, and highly addictive street drug dubbed Grave Dust. Medical reports exclusively obtained by the Daily Bugle outline the violent changes users undergo immediately after ingesting the drug. Biochemists are working hard to crack the formula, whose effects supposedly alter users' appearances. Terrified eyewitnesses claim that users' skin flushes gray and hardens, quite literally as if they turn to stone. Others report users break into fits of rage, inflicting violence against innocent citizens and even themselves. For the safety and well-being of all, health officials are urging those suspected of using Grave Dust to seek help immediately. And in case you missed it, this is a black and white picture of what one of the users of Grave Dust looked like. In case you missed it, I did do a video last month breaking down the things that you may have missed during the E3 demo, and now we actually have official confirmation of who these people are. We did see these people pop up during the Raft demo who I thought were actually going to be some form of a mutant. But given what the newspaper says, we now know that they are actually experiencing symptoms of the drug Grave Dust. And given all the winks and nods to who this could be related to, I absolutely think that this is going to connect to the villain of Tombstone. Since the drug itself is called Grave Dust and it says that the victims look like they turn to stone, I absolutely think that that is a huge wink and nod to that character. Since L. Thompson Lincoln is a really big crime boss within the Marvel Comics, and specifically during the main Spider-Man show of Spectacular Spider-Man, I can't wait to see how Insomniac handles his character within Spider-Man PS4. And I know that there are other theories out there saying that this villain could possibly be related to Carrion, but I definitely am putting my money on Tombstone. But still, let me know what all you guys think about the Grave Dust situation in the comments section down below. Now, moving on from that really quick highlight of the Daily Bugle newspaper, we are going to be discussing about the awesome San Diego Comic-Con story trailer that was shown off for Marvel's Spider-Man. And later on, I will be discussing about my own personal thoughts of the trailer, but for right now, we are going to be reading an article that James Stevenson posted himself on PlayStation's website. And of course, the article states, Marvel's Spider-Man, new story trailer, pre-order updates, and more. Silver Sable makes her debut in the spectacular new story trailer debuted at San Diego Comic-Con 2018. San Diego Comic-Con kicked off with a bang this Thursday. Everyone here at Insomniac Games was honored to be a part of the Marvel Games panel in the legendary Hall H, a hallowed location for major moments in pop culture history. As a part of the panel, we showed off our latest story trailer, which had a first look at our original take on Silver Sable, a longtime anti-hero popularized in the pages of The Amazing Spider-Man in our game. And you could finally hear Norman Osborn himself speak. As you saw in the trailer, as events in the city began to escalate in Marvel's Spider-Man, Mayor Norman Osborn is willing to take no risks during his re-election bid. He hires Silver Sable and her mercenary organization to restore order to the city, which includes stopping someone he believes is contributing to the mayhem, Spider-Man. We also get to see a glimpse of Spider-Man, MJ, and Miles Morales together for the first time. One of the game's themes is partnership, and this is a little glimpse showing that Spider-Man is even greater if he relies on help from his friends. We were pleased to introduce some new members of our cast on the game as well. You already know Yuri Lowenthal is playing Spider-Man, but we also introduced Stephen O'Young as Mr. Negative / Martin Lee and Laura Bailey as Mary Jane Watson. Many of you had guessed that the final mystery suit in our Spidey suit pack pre-order offering would be revealed at SDCC. We revealed the new Velocity suit, an original suit for the game that was created by acclaimed comic book artist and film character designer Adi Granov. It joins the Spider-Punk suit and the Iron Spider suit to round out the set. Here's all three suits in action, and even if you do not pre-order, you can earn these suits in-game as well. Now, for me personally, I have lots of thoughts when it comes to the new story trailer and the third pre-order suit. In my opinion, I really like the design that they are going with for Silver Sable, and I can't wait to to see how her character will be used within the full story. And that also goes for how Norman Osborn seems like he's going to be used in the story as well. The fact that we still don't know whether or not Norman Osborn will turn into the Green Goblin at some point in the game is one of the reasons why I'm so interested within the story. Seeing how much power Norman seems to have as mayor of New York City and seeing how he's using all that power to go after someone like Spider-Man really makes me intrigued to see where the story is going to go next. Although, given what these two scenes are showing right here,
Peter Parker, how the hell are you?
I think it's very obvious to tell that these are two separate scenes. I believe this part of the trailer is a very clever editing trick to make it look like Norman knows that Peter is Spider-Man, but if you see in this other shot right here, Norman is in fact talking to Peter Parker himself. You can obviously tell that that's Peter on the left, given that he's wearing a lab coat, and since he works as a scientist, it makes sense that he would be dressed this way, plus his hair is very similar to how Peter looks like in the Paris Games Week trailer. Now, as for the mystery woman that's right next to Norman, I know that a lot of people are thinking that that is going to be Felicia Hardy, aka the Black Cat, but in my opinion, she looks a bit too old to be Felicia, so I do think that the next best option would be Kingpin's wife, Vanessa. There have been comic runs in the past where Norman and Vanessa have worked alongside of each other, and seeing how Kingpin seems to be taken down in the beginning of the game, maybe Vanessa will want to team up with Norman to take out Spider-Man. And if that is the case, I think that's going to be a really cool plot point within the story. Although my one concern with this trailer is the connection that Miles is going to have with Peter, Spider-Man, and Mary Jane. We still don't know whether or not Miles is going to in fact turn into Spider-Man at some point in the story, or in this trailer we don't know if he knows that Peter is Spider-Man. But given what the article said, saying that Spider-Man is even greater when he relies on help from his friends, I really hope that they don't have that big of an impact within the main story. Now, don't get me wrong guys, I still am really excited to see how MJ and Miles will be shown off within the story, but I do hope that Spider-Man will mainly be independent during the majority of the narrative without having to rely on anyone else for assistance. Since Peter has been Spider-Man for 8 years, and since he is very experienced when fighting crime in New York City, it would only make sense for him to deal with these sorts of situations on a long-term basis. But regardless, I still am very excited to see where the story is going to go for the game. And before moving on to the final part of this video, I just want to give my brief thoughts on the third pre-order suit with the Velocity suit. I do really appreciate that this is in fact a 110% original design from Insomniac Games, but I'm not quite sure how I feel about it just yet. I do like how very tech-based they are going with this suit, but I'm not sure if I'm a fan of the lights on the suit. It does look very cool to be used during the nighttime of the game, but I'm not sure if I would personally wear this suit after I unlock it. And given its name of the Velocity suit, that definitely indicates that its suit power will mainly relate to some form of speeding up your traversal. Still, for what the suit is, I do really appreciate the time and thought that Insomniac put into this suit when creating it, and I can't wait to see what the other designs are going to be. Now, as I said, moving on to the final part of the video is going to be discussing about the opening cutscene of the game that was shown off during the Hall H Marvel Games panel. But since discussing that cutscene just through my voice would be a bit complicated to try and elaborate to you guys, we're going to do something a bit different. Now for this part of the video, we're going to get a bit more personal, so hey there once again true believers and spectacular Spidey fans to the ending of this video. So we first talked about the Daily Bugle newspaper that had its second issue posted on PlayStation's website before Comic-Con happened, and the story trailer that was also revealed during the Marvel Games panel. But one thing that was shown during the panel that no one has seen if you were not at Comic-Con is the entire opening cutscene of Spider-Man PS4. I don't know if there's going to be another cutscene that is shown before that, but this is basically how the main game is going to start, and it looks like it's going to be starting in a beautiful, beautiful way. And I was able to be in Hall H for my very first ever Hall H panel. Seeing that for the first time was amazing. But if you did read the Game Informer for Spider-Man PS4, Andrew Reiner actually wrote the cover story for Spider-Man PS4 back in April for that game, and he described the opening cutscene in full detail, but I actually got to see it myself, so I'll just explain to you what I saw, how I feel about it, and just how visually amazing the game looks. So, if you did read the Game Informer, you would know that the game starts off with an actual spider descending from a web line, just kind of trickling down the windowsill, and it lands on a windowsill, and then it shows this really cool one long pan shot of Peter's room. You see pictures of Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and also Harry, Peter, and MJ together, like what we saw in the Paris Games Week trailer. They look really well detailed. Uncle Ben looks like a mixture of how he looked like in the Sam Raimi movies, as well as the Amazing Spider-Man movies. He's old, but not too old, and the way on how they designed him looks really, really great. Seeing all these cool pictures of Harry and MJ giving some backstory for him. You also see some small stuff like Peter not taking care of his potted plant because he's so busy as Spider-Man. And also you see on his wall behind his bed newspapers, the Daily Bugle newspapers. The exact headline of Rhino with the roadblock, that's actually an exact newspaper headline that is on Peter's wall in his room. And it's this one long panning shot. After the spider falls, you see photos of Peter and MJ and Aunt May and Uncle Ben. And you also see the newspapers, and you see stuff like Peter's web shooters and his Spider-Man mask. And then you hear on a police scanner, you know, like 10-10-38 in progress. You know, Fisk Industries, you know, in danger, whatever, you know, there's stuff going on. And then Peter wakes up from his bed like, oh, Fisk, you know, he like wakes up and you see like this great, awesome shot of Peter, and then he kind of looks around. He is also trying to make himself some breakfast, so he like puts toast in a toaster, which looks like it's half made. It looks like there's like microchips and computer wires just kind of sticking out from the toaster because it's not fully finished being made, and he's probably taking parts from everything in his room to help upgrade his Spider-Man suit. And speaking of his Spider-Man suit, you also see the inside of the classic suit mask, which if you've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, you see that scene where Peter's tinkering with his suit, and you look inside the mask and you see all these wires and stuff. It looks pretty much exactly like that for the classic suit, not even for the advanced suit, but mainly for the classic suit, and it looks really well detailed. You see the interior of the lenses, and you see Peter's web shooters. He has like different web shooters on his desk that he's trying to manufacture and improve, and it looks great. And it really shows how scientifically intelligent Peter is, that he's able to make all this himself. No help from Iron Man, no help from any other heroes, just Peter doing his thing as a 23-year-old scientist, and it looks great in that cutscene. You also see, you know, Peter getting out of bed, getting ready, making breakfast. He's also wearing underoos, so he's wearing, you know, a t-shirt, like a pajama shirt, but he's also wearing his underwear has Spider-Man faces on it, like the logos of Spidey's face, like you've always seen on a classic shirt. It's on his underwear. So I guess in this universe, he's also been this big figure that New York has been able to merchandise, and Peter himself is wearing Spider-Man boxers, which is hilarious, and it's just a bunch of Spider-Man faces on his boxer shorts, and it looks great. He's getting up, he's getting ready, he's trying to make the toast, he's trying to put on his pants, and trying to jump around the room, and then you also see him pick up his Spider-Man mask, and he like smells it, it's like, oh, that's disgusting, but he like puts it on, he puts on his suit, and then that scene what we've seen in the Paris Games Week trailer where he puts on his mask in the advanced suit, that's actually a lie. It's a trick in the cutscene to make it look like that's his first time wearing the advanced suit, but that's actually the very first opening shot of the game, but it's him putting on his classic suit. You see this great shot of him just totally out, you know, panning out of Peter, and just you see the classic suit in all its glory, the big, you know, black spider logo, the huge red logo on his back, and then there's the police scanner on his bed saying that he has to go and, you know, stop this crime at Fisk Towers that's going on. He should probably go and look at it. And then right there near his door, there's a little slip that slides underneath his door, like it slides underneath it, and it's his rent bill, so he has to go and pay rent. And then he actually has kind of like the Homecoming HUD in the mask, and it says, pay rent, Peter, like, you know, new objective, pay rent, pretty much. It says that in his mask. And the HUD that we see in the game with the health bar and the suit power, that's pretty much what Peter sees in his mask. So it makes you feel like that you are seeing what Peter's seeing through that perspective, which is really, really cool. And then you get this great, you know, little shot. Peter looking at the police scanner, then looking back at the rent bill, police scanner, rent bill. And then you see the shot of his legs, you know, walking towards the rent bill. And then he stops for a second, and then he immediately turns around and jumps out of the window, and then that's where this scene takes place, which we saw. You're going to see a video right now of the E3 video promotion that was playing last month, and it shows that exact same scene. It's one shot, he dives out the window, basically like the final swing from Spider-Man 1 2002, where it's one whole shot of him doing a final swing. It's a beginning swing now, and it's so cool. You know, that scene where he dives out the window, kind of does a swing to the left, he twists, he wall runs up, he zips. It does that cool, you know, that dive shot, like his face, his back, then his full suit, then swings away. And it's one whole shot, and then he zips also after the first zip that, you know, exits from the wall run. He jumps off, he zips towards a water tower, and then corkscrews towards, you know, where he's trying to go to Fisk Towers, and then the camera slowly pans out, and then he starts to swing. And it's one consecutive shot of Spider-Man swinging in a really cool cinematic-looking way that instantly transitions into gameplay. Just like the E3 2018 demo, he's on his phone, he puts on his mask, he jumps out, and then it pans away, and then you start swinging. It's the same thing here, but for the opening cutscene, all in the classic suit. And the way on how Insomniac is handling it with Peter's personality, along with this upbeat music that's playing, it's a licensed song. I'm not sure which song it was, but he gets out of bed, he's like trying to get ready being Spider-Man, get breakfast made. It's like this kind of like upbeat, lighthearted rock song, like I feel alive and stuff like that, you know, something like that. So it's like really like this is a brand new take on Spider-Man, very, you know, you feel free, you feel like you are Spider-Man, and I felt so exhilarated when seeing that in Comic-Con in Hall H. And that whole opening cutscene, truly, if you haven't read the Game Informer, it is in there. Just read the cover story, and like, you know, a couple pages in, it talks about the opening cutscene. But seeing it compared to reading it is two separate things. It was glorious. But anyways, guys, that was my entire overall breakdown of everything that has happened from Comic-Con, which I was able to attend, from the story trailer, Daily Bugle magazine, and the opening cutscene that Marvel showed in Hall H. It was fantastic, and I hope you all enjoyed. And I just can't wait until September 7th, guys. It's so close, and we can make it. We've been waiting for 2 years. It's almost here, and it's just awesome. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay spectacular, Spidey fans. Peace out.
Wait, you? Damn! Oh, dude, you like a real superhero, man! I love the mask. How you breathe in it, though? What's that sound? You put some kind of air intake in the mask. Boy, you better. Now, I'm assuming that the material's see-through, right? Yeah, dude, I'm gonna tell you something, Rick, this is good. I'm impressed, like, really impressed.